Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao coming on to engage myself, at least for a while, on this topic of worsening mental health and how we can combine positive psychology and ancient wisdom. And this issue had been in our eyes on our radar for a while as physicians, as healthcare providers, as industry as a whole, But something about the COVID, not only the virus causing more mental illness, but also the societal circumstances provoked a lot of loneliness, a lot of depression, anxiety about long COVID, and really a lot of people's work conditions have changed where they used to have camaraderie, right, with colleagues, with people going to the societal setting of a office and relating to those people, getting away from at least from the family for a while. All those things have changed with COVID, right? More people are working remotely now, and more people are not having any company because they are working at home alone, and they are steeped up in the computers and Zoom talks. And so there's something about personal touch with the people and social interactions and just spending time with physically, just sitting next to each other has some beneficial effect for people, right? We all know about that. That's why when people were like a tribes, they were together in one tribe, and they are against the world. So they were kind of had that kind of strength, and that was seen later on in extended families, right? People had extended families where they could follow the head, and everybody else kind of had a merry time, and major problems are taken care of by the top person or head of the family, and rest of the people are kind of were able to do whatever they could do, but they don't have to worry about big problems. But that is all gone now. Even the young kids have these problems with how they perform in the school, and young adults have to find their own mate and lead with all sorts of problems. Social media somewhat gave both ways. It gave an opportunity to make some friends and to be a part of the group and all that. But people, some of them are independent. They can do their own thing, but at the same time, not being part of the any conformist attitude. That means you agree with whatever they say. You could be as a friend and you could be there, but not really involved with them, right? So that kind of thing. But all in all, the COVID has seen much more increase of the mental health problem. More people dying of the depression, and more people are isolated, more people are lonely. Like I mentioned, the Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, he came and talked about how loneliness has become an epidemic problem. So it's all over. Many people are, and the depth of the loneliness also has got worse because we're away from the nature, away from the people, and confined in their own cubicles, and they don't have any real means of reaching out to people. Even if you reach out for your own selfish needs, you won't get the benefit. But if you reach out for other people's needs, then you will be uh, getting benefited. We all know that, right? When we give something to some friend or some family member, we feel better. But if we are only worried about our own selfish needs, people don't feel that good. Okay, this kind of self-centeredness, egotism, and working only for yourself and working for some things, all these things precipitate the loneliness. Why I'm saying that is, if you look at yesteryear's ancient people, they were more like trying to find a place for themselves to be alone, not lonely, to be alone, so that they are not disturbed by all sorts of worldly activity, but they can be alone, away from families. So they call that in India called sannyasa. That means kind of developing this aloofness, and then they want to leave everything and go and meditate. Okay, and those people are not stupid either, because they had enjoyed mental health much better, because they were able to sit down and close their eyes and deal the demons within their thinking, right? So that was the purpose of the meditation, and also realize the state where it is really enriching, fulfilling for them, right? That kind of thing. But nowadays, people are so um, twisted thin, but they can't really talk to anybody. They have to go to a therapist, or they have to go to somebody that will take some money from you and that tell you whatever you want to hear. And then lots of times the people don't get the benefit from the therapy. Some are, but not me, right? That's a big controversial thing, whether therapy is needed or therapy is overused or therapy is kind of not beneficial. There was a time in 90s, I think, when a lot of corporations used to send their employees for the therapists. They used to pay for that, and then what they found was they were not having any relief from the symptoms or problems they had. Either they're having depression, or they are having anxious, they are relationship problems, sleep problems, any number of things is to go right. They have no family, so they were kind of feeling really isolated and then lost, so they don't know where to go and all that, right? Then what happened? These people are more lonely, more confused, and more not with it, right? So they went to the therapist. They sat down there for hours, and then those hours are counted as billable hours, right? So each therapist is making a lot of money. The companies cried about. They said, "What's going on? We are sending these people for so many hours, and they're going there spending time and not working for us. But then they are not getting better. They are not showing the improvement in their work. On the other hand, it's getting worse." So they revolted, the companies. Then they had to change the whole thing, and they said, okay, we will call this psychiatric units as behavioral med units. That means we won't waste time on the therapies as much, but we will be really relying on medications and the behavior changes that we could do. That also doesn't work that much, because if you take it, the current situation, if you're honest about it, the mental health incidents and the mental health incidents in many young people has really risen, and that's a concern I'm bringing it. Um, uh, but if you really observe the work conditions and uh, many of the support systems that corporations have built in, they are not working. Especially when something like COVID hit, all these things came out, all the breaches of the support systems and all that. People were forced to be alone in their houses, and then they were forced to face their own demons and thinking, feelings, and lack of relationship, which are lack of meaning in their life. All those things came up, right? So then the whole therapists and all that, they were not available, or they are not that many mental health providers, right? Where she is short on psychiatrists, psychologists, and all that. They are trying to get some people to at least learn some things to give relief to people. And all in all, you can see whether you can try yourself. If you go to a therapist, you go to a psychiatrist, if you or you get rid of that system completely, or are you having problem? That's mainly because in psychiatry, psychology, what they were doing was they are only treating if you are organically sick. But if you have problems within your own personality, within your psyche, within your thinking or confusion, they are not able to do that. And then if you have positive qualities within you that are kind of overwhelmed by your anxiety of the situations or relationships or depressions, whatever they are not able to bring the positives within you so that you have resilience that can overcome these problems. Suppose you have some tiff with somebody, some argument. Why do you have to go on keeping it in your system and then go on thinking about it? That's the current trend, right? But then if you have the ability to see what is trivial, what is not trivial, what is important or not, that's kind of requires maturity. But many people don't have that, and also you have these instant so-called relievers like a drink, a smoke, or a single night, or any of those things that people go to at the cost of developing resilience by facing that difficult situation and understanding and going through it, right? So that is what inner inquiry, which happens in the spiritual inquiry, that helps you to see exactly as you are and not really compromise, not justifying. A lot of people are self righteous. I have met so many people. There's to be one guy who was a very popular guy in so many ways. Um, and whatever he taught, whatever he did, other people around him said glowing things for him. So he always thought he is right, no matter what the situation is, how it is. But when somebody like me came around, and when I pointed out the truth to him in a friendly manner, he would not take it. He kind of said that he loved me and all that, but then he said, I cannot take it when you talk like that. I said, what did I talk? Then I showed him the fact that was going on. Fortunately, we remained friends, and but then he doesn't want to come off that self-righteousness. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about not having any opinion, not having any particular concept, not having any previous knowledge that is dictating us, but looking at any situation, both internal and external, for what they are. Once you have that, then what happens is you will be able to see them clearly. That means you have to have a clear mirror. If you have all sorts of dust on that with memories, with conclusions, with concepts, you are not good to see what it. For example, there are some friends here on the wisdom that are enamored by the intellectual prowess. So they can never understand what is this intuitive feeling, how to see yourself as you are, because their intellect runs away from them with all sorts of conclusions and concepts. So before they can see it, the real picture is already gone, right? So don't be self-righteous, but inquire into what is right now. What is, if you can look at that way, then you will be able to resolve that. Suppose somebody had a problem this afternoon in the office, and that person was insulted by the middle manager or somebody, and that middle manager didn't mean to, or really mean to, whatever. The person who took the insult goes away because you're powerless to say anything to the boss, and kind of keeps that hurt. This keeps that real problem with her, and then she could analyze, or she could really make a problem with that all the time, or she could say, I will let it go. She could do that with practice. That's where you can say, okay, I'm going to divert to something pleasure or something important, that I will try to forget this. Lots of times people reinforce their own thinking, and then that becomes a problem. Okay, we're not blaming them. It's a situation that happens. But suppose you say, okay, it happened 1 hour ago, but right now, is he here? No. Why I'm keep on thinking about it? And then you can drop it. So coming back to the present, facing what he is can replace all those memories. But if you go on thinking about this memory, that will be continuing to reinforce itself, and that uh, they call it as samskara in yoga, and reinforced thinking in modern biology we call it. And we know, according to neuroplasticity, the more you think negative about something, the more negative it will become, the deeper it will become. And that is how negative thinking leads to depression. On the other hand, if you convert that negative to something positive, this is a cognitive reframing, or pratipaksha bhavana in Sanskrit, in yoga also there. So whenever the negative has come and you identify, you are slowed enough as those you can identify the negativity and replace that negativity with something positive. Okay, maybe it relieves somebody who is not your friend. Maybe that's a positive thing. Maybe you know their true colors. That's a positive thing. Something like that. If you can do it by yourself, you don't need any therapist, you don't need anybody else. You will be psychologically independent too. So those are the some of the areas I kind of show people to develop on their own, and to be independent, to be strong, to be resilient. You know. So hi Jacob, how are you?
Hello, Dr. Rao.
Yeah,
I'm regular. You
regular.
know me. I just took a 6 to 7 kilometer walk inside
Okay.
of a snowstorm through the
Wow.
woods.
Uh,
And, I expected the woods to be darker. It
yeah.
wasn't that dark.
Uh,
I saw everything.
yeah.
Um, and that was interesting. And
Yeah.
I feel more resilient.
No, no, it is the snow reflecting the light or something, because I know what you're talking about. I used to go in the winter to walk in the woods, forest preserves were close to our house in Chicago, and that was true. Even though the sun is not there, there's a lot of light. We could see it, a lot of stuff. So forest preserve used to be one end to other end we used to go, and it was lighted. Yeah, you are right. You don't have to have bright sun, but it is supposed to be night, but then we can see the path and everything. Probably the snow reflecting some of the light left or something.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
And maybe they added lights to the park, but
yeah, yeah.
I don't see the moon because
uh,
it's pretty cloudy.
uh,
But it's very visible, like a surprising amount of visibility.
yeah. Well, I'm continuing my series on this mental health increase, and I talked about COVID, how it has increased a lot of loneliness, a lot of, really depression, anxiety, and also COVID itself causes a lot of psychiatric problems. So people were separated from their colleagues, and they had to confine to the house for a long period of time. That bred problems with closed ones, because they were not used to stay with the family, and now they are, and they're picking up on the family. They had fights, they had wife beating, lots of things happened, right? So I was talking about all that, and then how the therapy and all that is failing people, and how you can cultivate your own capacity to think through things and then face things as they are, instead of thinking through impressions or past knowledge and all that. What do you think, Jacob?
Um, Okay, well, when I first jumped in the room,
Mm.
there was something about hurt
Yeah,
and positivity. And one thing I was thinking is, one thing about positivity is it's not it's not that we're not doubting ourselves. We should, of course, if somebody says
yeah,
a different perception than we hold, of course, listen to it.
yeah.
But I was talking to my best friend earlier,
Uh-huh.
and I noticed he has a very particular way of speaking where he projects his doubts onto me, and he wants me to. It's almost like he tries to fit me into these categories, even though he's the person who taught me don't like be wary of the categories that we choose cognitively because it's our own imagined kind of state.
Yeah.
So I think I had to remind him that, hey, by the way, you're trying to, like, you, he's like, oh, I'm confused because you're silent, Jacob. Are you mad at me? Are you sad? Are you, and I'm like, hey, I'm like, stop. I'm like, if it's unacceptable for you that I'm silent, okay, if you're trying to pry information out of me, okay, then we can end the conversation. It's not a problem. But don't try to. It's like my friend Anu. He's like, nobody is gonna dictate how I speak. I choose my words, and you don't get to tell me how to talk. Right? And I had to remind my friend Philip about this. I'm like, hey, if you're uncomfortable with, if you're confused, if you're uncomfortable, if you're sad, that I'm listening, that I'm being observant, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. But you're not going to dictate my speech, and you're not going to force me to give you information if I don't want to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Number one. Exactly. And number two, as to your most recent question, it's like, I'm thinking about how my mom and dad wash dishes. Okay? My mom has like a 7-step process. And she is so meticulous. With her processes. My dad, he says efficiency over anything. He's like, I just want to get it done. If it's done, that's it. He's like, notice, I could do like 2 sets of dishes by the time your mom finishes one. And then my mom says, yes, but my dishes are so clean that I never have to rewash them. Right? It's like, and so for my parents, I tell them, look, guys, I understand your approach and I understand your approach. And sometimes I will lean more toward one side. But I'm going to decide how I wash the dishes. Okay? And if the dishes are clean, right, then it's already an acceptable level. And that's it.
You know, the washing the dishes can be really therapeutic if you are completely with it, like your mom, and really paying attention to it. That act itself calms her down. You know, it's not that one is superior or other because people differ, right? So that's okay. If your dad can be efficient, that's fine. That's his style. Your mom can be detailed. But the fact is, if you take time and if you really pay attention to anything, that very act of really being meticulous acts as a therapeutic for you. You know, so that's suppose you are angry and you come down there, you start to wash the dishes, and then that slowing down, that paying attention kind of calms all that agitation within you. So like that, you have cut the vegetables, or you are doing the gardening, or you are just walking slowly without really having anybody talking in your ear. All those things where you have some time to reflect on what it is and then calm down, that really helps a lot. Mhm. So what I was pointing out is, suppose somebody said something, just my colleague got hurt. That's a real story. And when she came around, she was visibly seen that she's hurting inside, right? Her color and everything. Then uh, she sought some solace from me because, you know, we are used to those kind of things, right? Um, he said it hurt, it feels so bad to me and all. Then I told her, "Are you aware of the hurt?" Yes, you know. but the hurt is there now is because you are continuing or you forgot about it. She said, no, I didn't forget. I'm thinking about it constantly, this cyclically coming and coming and coming. They said that is how this neuronal path forms. That is how we kind of cement the feeling of hurt. But if you can see, oh, it happened a few minutes ago or a few hours ago, and why I'm continuing this, then you will can separate that, and thereby the chance of that not coming back again. This kind of being aware of the thing in here now. In this moment, it is that man is not there. He's saying that, but you are just recollecting your memory. It's not a crime or anything, but the nature of how we allow our thinking to get cemented. So once I taught her how to be aware in the moment, she was able to drop these things very quickly. But she looked at them. Suppose they were angry, she did something wrong, then she corrected herself. But she didn't have to go on feeling bad about it and thinking that she is something wrong person and all. The other person's aim is to make her feel like that. So having that kind of awareness really helps with anger, with hurt, with others. That's the point I was making there. You know.
And that reminds me of the story of two arrows, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's a bigger thing too, because the two arrows. This is where my resilience is. Tremendous things can come that way, but then remembering the two arrow theory, but then there's a lot of practice goes into that. You don't have to deny your hurt, but then you can remember this, then you will develop that. Actually, physically, molecular level also you can develop resilience, Jacob. For example, you are practicing deep breathing after you really learned how it is deep breathing done, right? There are so many ways. Then you will fortify your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system. But if you allow the sympathetic nervous system activated go on, that is the one which kind of makes a reaction much more quicker as you go on. So you want to first to slow down that, and also really learn the other system, which is elevating the sympathetic nervous system. See, modern life has become, for everything we activate sympathetic nervous system. Either we imagine fear or danger or angry or whatever. The reactions are so quick in our society that becomes a real problem. But then if you start the day with a deep breathing and also coming during the day once in a while, you can nurture your parasympathetic nervous system. That will help you. And as you see reactions during the day, then you say, why do I have to react? I'll respond to the challenge. And that becomes your real weapon to develop. So slowly you'll be not reacting but responding to ordinary things. And once in a while there may be something unexpected or something serious happens, then you will be reacting, but then you study yourself a little bit better. These kind of people get better much faster than people who don't pay attention to their breathing and they never cultivate the deep breathing. It's as simple as that.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. So start the day after you get up, sit on the side of the bed, take 10 deep breaths. That's good enough to start. And then during the day, whenever things are really becoming hectic, take a break and 1 minute break of deep breathing. And then at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, again do the deep breathing and go to sleep. After a few weeks, you will notice you have slowed down in your reactions quite a bit. And the more you do it, there are so many other ways to do effective deep breathing. Then you will cultivate much more resilience in your neurological reactions.
I feel like cultivating that like neurological resilience also helps with
Yeah.
actual life longevity.
Yeah.
Because I hear that on average, a
Mhm.
human heart will beat 1 billion times.
Mm.
And I'm sure that there's extreme outliers on both ends.
Yeah.
Um, but
No, there is a scientific proof on this breath number. like you were talking about heart number, but the breath number is there too. Normally, we breathe between 12 to 15 a minute, right? The more athletic you are, the less number you will breathe for a minute. But then fixed number of breaths are there. So if you slow down, that's the essence of pranayama, extending the life. How they do it is by slowing the breath. And actually, in yoga, there's what's called kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means, see, when you take a deep breath and breathe out, in between there's a gap, right? They extend that gap. They take a deep breath and hold it for a while, and then they breathe out. I can go up to 1.5 minutes just holding it because of the practice. But initially, you may not be able to hold it for 10 seconds. That's okay. But then, as you practice, you should do it carefully though. Don't do it all of a sudden 1 minute. Uh, but if you do that, what happens is you are cutting down the number of breaths per day, right? And that adds up to your bank account. That's how they explain how the prana, that is the life force, ayama means extended, pranayama. The same thing with the heartbeats too. You don't want to accelerate the heart rate, but you want to slow down the heart rate. So the more you are relaxed, the more you are not having the sympathetic nervous system activation, the less heart rate. Actually, it rests quite a bit. They you know what, Jacob? There is this guy. He's a sadhu. He's kind of a saint, right? And he was going one day, and then he saw this tiger going in front of him on the road. But he it looks at him and then doesn't do anything and goes away. But this man checks his heart rate. Am I reacting or not? And he doesn't. So that is kind of how they kind of measure the danger and their response. Because they spend hours and hours in this meditation and breathing, they develop that extraordinary. We don't have to do that degree. All we have to do is the between waking and going to sleep, that period when you wake up and when you go to sleep, those 2 times, just to slow down the breathing and slow down the mind, that will benefit you quite a bit.
Awesome.
Mm.
I like the when I get into when I there are times where I have a moment in my life and I check my heart rate, right? I just focus on how the difference between when I felt that stimulus and usually it's an increase of heart rate. I don't think there's many.
Yeah.
I don't think I've noticed stimulus that slows down my heart rate, but that would be very interesting now that I'm thinking about it.
No, take deep breath. That will slow down the heart rate. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's like usually it's a surprise that would elevate your heart rate, like some sort of danger or some sort of excitement.
That's the sympathetic nervous system activated. Then it makes you beat heart rate and run. That's a whole thing of sympathetic fight or fright syndrome that we all know. But lately, in the modern life, we imagine so many dangers when it is not there. Maybe we imagine somebody is going to take away our promotion or compete or malana's, all sorts of dangers people play in their mind, and then they look at colleagues as enemies sometimes. That is how the workplace has become. It is not like a conducive, encouraging, protective, supportive atmosphere. It's more like you got to fight to survive in lots of workplaces. I treat them. People come with all sorts of toxic work environment, toxic people, and lots of times we cannot do anything about those. Like you were talking about your friend, we cannot do anything about, but we can do something about ourselves. That's what I try to teach people. So I was doing this series on this, how can we bring in ancient wisdom and positive psychology, where we can really develop this inner resilience so that we can deal with these mental health problems. They look very non-glamorous, but they are very effective. This awareness, there's breathing, there's being in the moment. All those things are very important. People don't cultivate them as much as they should. Actually, I'm writing a book now, Jacob. It's called Corporate Wellness, how we can help corporate wellness extension, so that people will be.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a very important thing because there are so. I teach what is called servant leadership for the corporations. That was going very well. But as I talk to these leaders, what is evident is that they are more worried about their health, internal health, like psychological health, but they are not really trying to nurture their employees. That's what I was focusing on. How can you really nurture your employees? Thereby, you can improve your atmosphere, your own health, and also your own profits and everything too. So uh, it's coming out pretty good. So I'm going to present that pretty soon. Okay.
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
See, hearing that,
Mm.
that was a stimulus that lowered my heart rate.
Very good, very good. Yeah, no, that's important, corporate wellness, because nowadays people are forming corporations. That's okay, but what I'm talking about is when you are alone and you're entrepreneur, and then you do that, still you go through the same pressures as a corporation, and then you hire some people, then you become the leader, then you have obligations to nurture them. If you nurture them, then they will be providing a lot of help for you, and they will be functioning better too. I mean, there are ways of managing these people, but essentially, your spirit should be, I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure that you are realizing your goals and all that uh, kind of supportive attitude, like a big father or something, not being authoritarian, not being dominant, but they're more like helping people to really be nurtured. Actually, that is a technique I used to a very good help for me when I was running my medical clinic corporation. This is a big one. So many people who used to work, nurses, medical assistants, X-ray people, lab people. So many people are. Everything is under me because I kind of built it like that. But then, very simple thing I had was when I'm hiring, they had their package, and nurse gets her package and all that. But then I also asked them, what is that you want to be down the line? And knowing what their real intentions are, and then helping them to realize, maybe we provided some CME or some stipends to take money so they can go to some places to learn. Those things are extra done for them. They were became more loyal to me, and then became friends and family. So that kind of spirit helped me keep an atmosphere of um, more like a nurturing atmosphere, very happy family, like you know, simple things like that.
That reminds me
Mm.
of there's a Japanese
Mm.
anime.
Yeah.
It's now actually done in America
Mm.
on Netflix in a real action, like real life action type
Yeah.
of style.
Mm.
It's called One Piece, and
Yeah.
it's about pirates.
Ah.
And it's about pirates with special abilities, and every pirate has its own special ability, and every hero and every bad guy and every good guy, they have these special abilities.
Ah. Ah.
And the main character, I think his name is Luffy D Monkey or Monkey D Luffy.
Okay.
I think it's Luffy D Monkey.
I see.
His goal is to become king of the pirates.
I see.
And he needs to find the pirate treasure to do this. And the Japanese one, it has, I think, 1,100 episodes, Dr. Rao, or
Wow.
1,200 episodes. It's a very long show. The Hollywood version is a little shorter, but one thing I've noticed about this main character is he's always positive, and he wants to be like a good pirate.
Yeah.
Like helps people.
Yeah.
And one thing he asks everybody he meets,
yeah,
is he says, "What is your dream?"
Yeah. That's it.
And
That's it. That's
what
exactly.
you
Yeah.
remind me of.
That's
And
what I
he,
did actually. Actually, I took a lot of pleasure in doing that because They may have not brought it up because they were getting engaged in the clinic and all that, right? But I used to remind that every 3 months we used to, review them and see what things we can recommend further to improve. At the time, I used to ask them, "Where is your chemistry class going? Where is it?" Although they are surprised to see that I will remember that. But it's a simple thing, right? And then when you consider them as your family members, it's easy to remember things like that. And there is a secret, Jacob. The more you care about other people's needs, the better you feel about yourself. So it's like
Yeah.
a giving is itself getting everything. So you don't do that because you want to get something. It becomes a habit, and then you get to see, oh yeah, I'm caring for this person, I'm asking this people. So that is the servant leadership, where other people needs become more important than yours. You see, what is the name of the series? I would like to see that.
It's called One Piece.
One Piece. Okay. Netflix, huh? Okay. We have Netflix.
Netflix. It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And there's one part in the show,
Yeah.
in both the Japanese version and the American version, where um, one of his friends, everyone who he invites to be part of his pirate ship,
Yeah.
he asks them, "What is your dream?" And while they're going on their adventures, if there's ever an opportunity to fulfill someone's dream, that becomes the focus.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of his friends, he had a dream of being the best swordsman in the world.
Uh-huh.
And so his friend challenged the number one ranked swordsman in the world. And the main character, Luffy, he said, maybe it's not such a good idea. And the guy said, no, this is my destiny. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And his friend actually lost the fight and he almost died.
Yeah.
But Luffy and his other friend, she said, hey, why did you let him do that? You should have stopped him.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, I will do anything for anyone except for stand in the way of their dreams.
Yeah. This sword thing in Japan, Jacob, is very interesting. I know one story. It was related in big philosophical talk between Krishnamurti and Alan Anderson. Alan Anderson tells this elder man, he is not only very gifted in his sword fighting, but also he has a man of understanding, right? And he has 3 sons, and he was testing to see who is going to be the heir and who is going to be carrying the tradition, right? So he brings in the youngest one. He comes and he displays the skills like anything, and then as he put a fruit that to come on him when he comes into the room, right? The moment the kid enters, he slashes the sword and cuts into two, right? And then the man, the father says, "Okay, you can go and wait outside." And then second one comes in, and then he also displays the skill, but then he kind of knows that he's coming, right? Then he says, "Okay, go." But the third son, the eldest son, when he comes, before he pushes the sword, he reaches the top of the door and catches the fruit and gives them a man. So he kind of tells the youngest son, "You don't understand anything. You just only know how to flash the sword." And the second son also, he says, "You still have to understand a lot of things." But the third son, he says, "Now you can begin," because he knew beforehand there's a fruit, and then he instinctively reaches out without wasting his effort and all that, because he understood what's going on much before his father told him anything. So that's a very important story in the spiritual angle. But this, the Chinese ninjas, they give tremendous importance to the inner resilience. That's why they have such extraordinary powers and extraordinary focus, extraordinary courage, and also they don't really care about the life as much as they care about the honor. you know Very beautiful stories on ninjas are there.
I feel like I've reached that point in my life. It's like I know I'm gonna die. I
Yeah.
want to die in the best way possible. It's like there's a saying we have in English.
Hmm.
It says, "You live by the sword, you die by the
That
sword."
was sound, yeah.
So I thought, look, if I engage
Hmm.
in fighting, I might die fighting. If I engage in solving puzzles,
Hmm.
then I would rather someone try to, outwit me with puzzles. Or let's say that I focus on living my life with love.
Yeah.
It's like then maybe I can die with love.
Exactly. No, that's true. The last thought you're having. You say, I will tell you what is the Vedantin, which is the philosophy I study and all that, what they think about it. They say, okay, your body is mechanical, it's going to die. Your thoughts and mind also probably end there. But then your life force, that doesn't die. That goes into some other body or some other thing, right? So in a sense, you are permanent. Only what is die is your instruments of body and mind. This gives you enormous relief from the fear of death if you have fear of death, and also gives you a permanence through from which people operate, and then that's why they are always thinking, I'm not going to be in a hurry because I'm not going to be going anywhere. I'm not going to be fearful because I know I'm not going to be dying. But then, whatever I do, I will do with complete attention. Actually, this is a matter of fact for me, So that is a important thing because fear of death to overcome, to understand, is a big deal in yoga and other places, but also all over the world, right? People are acting against that fear of death all the time. Anyway, that's kind of pretty deep, we don't have to discuss that. But basically, if you really understand the permanence of what I'm talking about, then you will be working in this life much better, each moment.
That reminds me of I went to the grocery store yesterday,
Ah,
and my only vehicle here in Toronto is an electric scooter.
ah,
Okay, but it was snowing, so my scooter was slipping,
hmm,
and so found I started driving on the street
ah,
um, until I noticed that part only the part beside my apartment
yeah,
was very snowy, and the rest of it was clear.
ah,
So I can go back on the sidewalk and I can ride my scooter there. Then, when I got to the grocery store, I
yeah,
parked my scooter inside near the grocery carts.
ah,
And while I was getting some food, I noticed that there was some giant man. He was like minimum 6.5 feet tall.
ah, ah,
Okay, and he was a thick man too. He must have weighed maybe at least 250 pounds, kind of muscular,
big man, huh?
big guy.
Ah,
Okay, and I noticed that I parked my scooter
yeah,
behind. There's 3 rows of carts that have maybe 30 carts there,
hmm,
and there's one small row that only has 2 carts.
ah,
So I parked my scooter in front of these 2 carts, and I noticed that he wanted those carts. He didn't want any of the other 100 carts. He wanted the carts beside my scooter. And I look over, and my scooter is tilted. It's no longer kind of where I left it. It's kind of leaning against the other row of carts.
Okay.
So I walk over with a look on my face, like a confused look. Okay, and I was accepting of my the way that I chose to present my face. Like, hey, like with no words spoken, it was like a "what's going on here" type of look. Okay, and he um, he I said, I forget who said something first,
Mm.
but I walk over to my scooter, and I look at him, and he says, uh, something like, "What's going on?"
Mm.
And I said, "I'm just checking to see what's going on with my scooter."
Yeah.
Okay, and he walks away. Then I put my scooter back in place. Okay, I move those carts. He took one of the carts, so there's only one cart left. So I took it and I put it beside so someone has access to it. And then I put my scooter all the way across the wall, like into that location. And then as I'm walking back to my grocery cart to continue my shopping, he returns and he stops in front of me. Okay? Now, I have three grocery store employees standing right beside me. Okay? And I stop in my tracks as soon as I see that his attention is on me and he wants to, like, engage in some sort of interaction with me, which potentially could be dangerous, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
big
he
guy.
won't fight me. I have no idea.
Yeah, big guy, huh?
So he's a big guy, right? I'm like, this is gonna be a hell of a fight.
You felt fear, or you thought you were going to die or something?
I felt it. I didn't feel scared. Okay, and mainly I didn't feel scared because I knew that I didn't do anything wrong, and I didn't antagonize him. And so if he chose to fight me, he is going to be the one who's at fault.
It looks like he was antagonized,
Jacob.
Jacob.
Before I will.
He looks like he's antagonized. That's why he was looking at you to beat you up.
And not only that, but he came back and he stopped right in front of me, and so I stopped. And I took my headphone off because I'm listening to music, and he said, "Hey, I didn't touch your scooter." And I'm like, and I look at him and I said, "Did I say that you touched my scooter?" And he knows that I didn't use those exact words. I said, "I'm looking to see what's going on with my scooter."
Tell me the context.
Nothing about him.
Were you talking about death and then you brought it up? What was the point?
Well, so he, you can tell that he's getting kind of angry. Okay. But because I said, I asked him, "Did I say that you touched it?" And he said no. Okay. But he's still standing in front of me, not moving.
Wow.
So then I said the phrase, "How is your day going?" Okay. And this is the moment where it's like, I think I took him out of his hyper focus in the moment.
Rage.
I feel like I reminded it. It's almost like doing a body scan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are your feet doing? How are your shoulders doing? Yeah. It's like I asked him, "How is your day going?" Reminding him that, hey, you might have a family, right? That you maybe you finished work and maybe you're going to see your family. And this is just one moment in your day.
Yeah.
So what kind of moment are you going to make it? Right? Are we gonna fight right now?
Yeah.
Right? And when I said, how is your day going?
Yeah.
He kind of got flustered and he was like, whatever, and then he left.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. Many people get into the road rage reactions. They allow themselves to be driven by that movement, because you have taken a different road. You kind of broke that for him. Yeah, that's a wonderful job, Jacob. Good job. So you're not reacting, you're kind of responding to the situation. That's good. That's what I was always talking about. So good job. Okay. All right.
It was interesting.
Yeah. All right. I think Matthew is there. Matthew, you want to ask anything or you want to contribute to what we're talking about? We were talking about the increasing mental health situation in America, how we can enhance positive psychology and also some real extraordinary positive things of ancient wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, there is. Hi, Matthew.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Rao. Is that how I pronounce your name?
Rao. Dr. Rao.
Dr. Rao.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How can we increase positivity in Americans' mental health? I don't know. Americans are pretty negative, annoying people in general. Um, they're pretty ungrateful, and they complain a lot. So, I mean, I think I'm a pretty positive person.
Uh,
Um, I don't know what kind of thing is happening to make people so awful.
yeah.
But what's your suggestion?
Well, first of all, I don't really prejudge anybody because I understand the circumstances why people become like that. A lot of things that are going on in our families, societies, schools, and all those things are really not paying attention to the subtleties of lack of one tribe system. Human beings kind of identify by how they appear, what they are doing, and all that. So ancient wisdom talks about we are all one family, or oneness or interconnectedness. That kind of awareness, when you step out, like I get a lot of patients, different countries, different colors, different appearances, different socioeconomic status, and all that, right? But when they come in front of me, I try to see the human being, and that helps me to really focus on that and why they have come, what kind of problems they may have, and they immediately kind of sense that because I'm not prejudging them. And so if I keep myself like that, accepting them as they are, usually they respond very positively. you know.
I mean, I think Americans are pretty dangerous in that it would be in your best interest to prejudge them.
I don't find that. I was here since 1981. I was
It's
never.
called self-preservation.
No, I never was attacked or anything because I think they calm down when they come around me, so I'm happy. And then the rage reaction, what Jacob was describing, I have seen that so many times. People get frustrated with small things, and then they make it a big deal out of very trivial matters. One of the things I teach my nursing staff is when a patient comes really angry, I teach them to calm themselves down first before they attempt to calm the other person or shouting or anything. If they can calm down, usually other patients also calm down. And also, we choose to listen, whatever complaint, whatever argument they are making. That also helps. So it's all how we work on ourselves rather than the other person, which really helps us a lot.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed
Mm.
is I forgot about like clubhouse room protocol.
Ah,
And I often don't ping a lot of people into your room because I just forget. And I sometimes it's for a selfish reason. I'm like, I want Dr. Rao all to myself. But today, I've been pinging in my network, and so I'm glad to see Matthew here. Abir, nice to see you. Jen, hello.
okay.
And I just want to, just spread the good word of Dr. Rao as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to forget anymore.
That's nice. I just come in and talk. Sometimes the people come, sometimes people don't, but I still talk because they listen to this offer. Okay, Jen and who is the other one? Abhi and Kayla. Anybody wants to come up and chat with us? We are more than welcome. So Matthew was here and he was talking about things. And so.
One thing I think about people who, like, in America, we forget that we're a first world country, right? That we have access to electricity and to running water, which a lot of countries don't.
Yeah, there are so many things people don't, and but then that's why I find a lot of things very very great here, very good. And also, if you can see them, it will be wonderful. But then if you, I'm aware of what is going on around the world, Jacob, because I kind of follow the current affairs of the world. So there are so many wars going on, so many problems going on, famine and all that. So many countries don't have the freedom that we enjoy here. I mean, there are problems, America too, but then if you can see the positive, it's always a good thing, right?
I think it's like a finding the balanced version
Yeah.
of extreme freedom.
Let me tell you something about myself. You see, I was here since 1981, right? But I was able to study a lot of Indian philosophy and everything here because nobody restricts me here, and also everything available in English too. And the people who are really interested in the spirituality, they are sincere, right? They really work hard, and then they really try to study and understand it. So that kind of sincerity and transparency, if they don't like it, they don't like it, they will tell you. But if they like it, they show tremendous interest, very much more sincere. So I find it very refreshing to see that. Anyway, I think we are out of time now, Jacob. Okay, Matthew, thanks for coming up, and I will see you again tomorrow. Okay.
Nice to see you, Dr. Al. Thank you.
Bye
Have
bye.
a wonderful night.
You too. Bye bye.